the twin moons of Helix, four painted lavender shadows across the barren landscape, as Commander Nix Archer knelt before the memorial. Its obsidian surface swallowed the starlight, creating a void in the universe that matched the one in his heart. The monument rose from the dust at an unnatural angle, as if hurled from the heavens by some cosmic force. Nix removed his tactical gloves, letting his scarred fingers trace the symbol etched into the stone, a crescent moon, encircling a seven-pointed star. Not a military insignia, but something more personal. Something he'd watched Valeria sketch in quiet moments between battles, her slender fingers creating art even in war. "I'm going back to Norvedia tomorrow," he whispered to the memorial. "The Coalition thinks the hegemony is building weapons platforms there. Could be nothing, could be everything." The wind carried his words away, replacing them with the soft whisper of dust against stone. 6 years had passed since the siege of Antares Station, where Valeria had given her life to ensure his escape. 6 years of survivor's guilt transformed into an almost religious devotion to her memory. Captain Talia Wren watched from a respectful distance, her shuttlecraft idling nearby. She'd been his second-in-command for 3 years now, but never questioned his pre-mission ritual. When Nix finally rose and turned toward her, she simply nodded. "Ready when you are, Commander." The ride back to the orbiting warship Hyperion was silent. Talia knew better than to disturb him after these pilgrimages. Only when they docked did she speak again. "Admiral Drayson requested a briefing as soon as you returned. Something about updated intelligence on Norvedia." Nix nodded, the commander's mask sliding back into place. "Tell him I'll be there in 20. In his quarters, Nix stored the small stone he always took from the memorial site in a box with dozens of identical others. Each mission, another stone. Another piece of her he carried forward. The holoprojector on his desk flickered to life as he entered, displaying a message from Dr. Juno Voss, the Hyperion's chief scientist. "Commander, we've analyzed the energy signatures from Norvedia. There's something unusual about the radiation patterns, not consistent with weapons testing. I'd like to discuss this before your briefing with Drayson." Nix frowned. Juno was brilliant, but blunted. She thought something warranted attention. It usually did. The science bay was a labyrinth of equipment and holographic displays. Juno stood amidst it all, her wild gray hair escaping from its customary bun as she manipulated a three-dimensional model of energy waves. "These patterns," she said without preamble, "they match signatures we recorded during the Antares incident." The name of the battle where Valeria died hit like a physical blow. "That's impossible." "I thought so too." "But the resonance frequencies are identical." Juno's eyes, enhanced with ocular implants that allowed her to see spectrums beyond human perception, fixed on him. "Whatever created the energy surge that destroyed Antares Station is active on Norvedia." Nix's mind raced. The official report claimed a reactor meltdown had caused the explosion that obliterated half the station. He'd always suspected there was more to the story, but evidence had been classified at the highest levels. "Does Drayson know?" "I sent him the preliminary findings." His response was concerning. Juno displayed a brief message. "Contain this information. Priority black." Priority black meant total information lockdown, not just classified. "But potentially dangerous to the Coalition itself?" "I'm telling you this because I served with Valeria too," Juno said quietly, "and because these readings shouldn't exist. Whatever happened at Antares wasn't an accident, and now it's happening again." As Nix left for his briefing with Admiral Drayson, unease settled in his stomach like a cold stone. For 6 years, he'd visited Valeria's memorial, honoring her sacrifice. But what if everything he believed about her death was built on lies? The memorial flashed in his mind, standing at that unnatural angle as if it didn't belong. As if it had been placed there with purpose rather than reverence. For the first time, Nix wondered if he'd been mourning at the wrong grave all along. The holographic star map illuminated Admiral Drayson's features in harsh blue light, casting deep shadows across his weathered face. At 63, he was a relic of wars most soldiers only read about in history texts. His cybernetic right arm, a reminder of the frontier conflicts, gleamed under the light as he manipulated the projection. "Norvedia is showing increased activity in these sectors," Drayson said, highlighting 3 mountain ranges. Your team drops in 20 hours. Reconnaissance only. No engagement. Nix studied the terrain, but his mind was elsewhere. Sir, Dr. Voss mentioned energy signatures similar to Antares. Drayson's expression hardened. Dr. Voss should focus on her assigned tasks. With respect, Admiral, if there's a connection, there isn't. The words cut like a blade. That incident was conclusively investigated. Focus on your mission, Commander. The dismissal was clear, but as Nix turned to leave, Drayson added, that memorial you visit, it's becoming a distraction. Nix froze. Sir, we all lost people at Antares. We honor them by moving forward, not dwelling in the past. The words followed. Nix like a shadow as he prepared his team. 8 elite operators, the best the Coalition had to offer. As they checked their gear, Talia approached. You seem distracted, she said quietly. Just mission prep, he lied. Her eyes, amber in the ship's lighting, studied him. You know I served with Valeria too, before Antares. She wouldn't want you carrying this weight, I know. Did he? Fleetly, Nix wondered if he'd known Valeria. At all, the drop onto Norvidia's surface was textbook silent. Insertion under cover of the planet's electromagnetic storms. They moved through dense, violet-hued forests toward the first target zone. A research facility nestled within a mountain ridge. Minimal life signs, reported Sergeant Orion, scanning the compound. Its automated defense is active, but nothing we can't handle. They infiltrated through a maintenance tunnel, encountering only robotic sentries easily disabled by their EMP charges. The facility itself was eerily empty, equipment running, but no personnel. Central data hub should be 2 levels down, Talia said, consulting the schematics. The server room was arctic cold, breath crystallizing in the air. While Orion's team secured the perimeter, Nix connected their decryption module to the main terminal. Download initiated, he murmured. 90 seconds. As information flowed into their secure drive, something caught his AJA file directory labeled Phoenix Protocol. The same codename mentioned in fragments of data recovered from Antares. Acting on instinct, he diverted a separate download stream to his personal device. Commander Talia's voice crackled through the comm. We've got movement outside. Looks like they're returning. Wrap it up, Nix ordered. We're leaving in 30. Back aboard their stealth shuttle, safely hidden in Norvidia's upper atmosphere, Nix examined what he'd stolen. Most files were encrypted beyond their field capabilities. But one document opened a requisition order dated 6 months before the Antares incident. The blood froze in his veins as he read. Memorial markers prepared. Per specification. Delivery to Helix for pending mission completion. 6 months before Antares, before Valeria died. Someone had prepared her memorial in advance, or was it even hers? Further down the document, a personnel list appeared with 2 names highlighted. Commander N. Archer and Specialist V. Nasreen, both marked status, termination approved. His name and Valeria's. They planned for both of us to die, he whispered. Commander Talia had appeared behind him. He quickly closed the file. Just reviewing the data, he said. Let's get back to the Hyperion. That night, unable to sleep, Nix accessed old mission logs from Antares. He'd never questioned why he'd been unconscious during the final evacuation. Why his memories of those crucial moments were fractured. The official record stated he'd been injured, that Valeria had carried him to an escape pod before returning, to help others a return from which she never came back. But if the Coalition had marked them both for termination, what really happened? A message notification blinked on his console. Anonymous. Encrypted. It contained only coordinates on Norvidia's surface and 5 words. The dead have started talking. The abandoned mining outpost was barely visible against Norvidia's twilight landscape. Rust-colored dust swirled around the structures, erasing footprints almost as quickly as they formed. Nix approached alone, against every protocol, his pulse rifle ready. Inside the main building, emergency lighting cast red shadows across empty corridors. The air tasted stale, metallic. Quite the promotion they gave you, a voice said from the shadows. Commander now. Impressive, he knew that voice. He'd heard it in dreams and memories for 6 years. Valeria, Nasreen stepped into the light. The world tilted beneath Nyx's feet. She was thinner, harder, her copper skin marked with new scars. The violet eyes he remembered were unchanged, though intense, intelligent, alive. "You're dead," he said, weapon still raised. "I mourned you for 6 years, and I watched you." "Mourn," she replied, her voice softer now. "At a grave that was never meant for me." Moved closer, each step deliberate. She wore civilian clothes, dark and functional, with a weapon strapped to her thigh. Her black hair was shorter than he remembered, cropped close to her scalp on the sides. "That memorial on Helix 4, she continued. "It was prepared months before. In Tari's. I found the orders while accessing classified files. They planned for both of us to die there." "Why?" The question contained 6 years of pain. "Because we saw something we weren't supposed to see. The weapons test that day wasn't conventional. They were testing something that could alter reality itself.
Ass.
A quantum fissure device." Nyx lowered his weapon slowly. "The energy signatures Dr. Voss found? ... They're testing it again?" Bigger this time. Valeria's hand moved toward him, hesitated, then dropped. "I couldn't contact you before."
Ass.
They were watching too closely. But now, they're moving forward with the final phase. Why fake your death? Why let me believe? Because dead people have freedom to move. To investigate, her eyes held his. Because they would have killed you if they thought you knew. The space between them seemed to vibrate with unspoken words. "I never stopped looking for answers," she said quietly. "Never stopped, ... She didn't finish the sentence. A distant explosion rocked the building, dust raining from the ceiling. Valeria moved with liquid grace, pulling him toward a concealed exit. "We need to move, they've tracked you." Outside, a firefight had erupted between coalition forces and unseen defenders. Valeria led him to a hidden transport, its engines already humming. "Who are they?" Nyx asked, as they took off, laser fire streaking past. "People like me, survivors who learned the truth." She piloted with familiar skill, taking them low through a canyon. "The coalition isn't what we thought. There's a faction within leadership pursuing weapons that violate every treaty we've sworn to uphold." When they were safely away, she set the transport to autopilot and turned to him. In the dim cabin light, he could see the exhaustion etched into her features. "I watched you at the memorial," she admitted. "Every time. I wanted to reach out, but..." He reached for her hand, half expecting her to vanish like a mirage. Her fingers were warm, calloused, real. "I thought I was honoring your sacrifice," he said. "All this time, ... You were honoring something real," she replied, fingers tightening. Around his, "just not my death." The tension that had built over 6 years of separation dissolved as he pulled her closer. Their lips met with the desperation of people who had lost too much time already. Her body fitting against his exactly as he remembered. When they finally broke apart, Valeria's expression had transformed determination, replacing vulnerability. "There's something else you need to see," she said. "Something worth fighting for." The resistance base was hidden beneath an ancient temple complex, its entrances concealed by holographic technology that mimicked natural rock formations. As Valeria led Nyx through security checkpoints, he noted the diversity of the personnel, humans and non-humans working side by side, many wearing modified coalition uniforms with insignias removed. "Most are defectors," Valeria explained. "People who discovered fragments of the truth and couldn't stay silent. They descended to a lower level where the stone corridors gave way to a medical facility. Through observation windows, Nyx saw children, perhaps 20 of them, of various species and ages. Some played quietly, others slept or received medical attention. 3 weeks ago, we intercepted a coalition transport," Valeria said softly. "The manifest listed medical supplies. Instead, we found them." A young girl with pale blue skin noticed. Valeria pressed her hand against the window. Valeria returned the gesture, their palms separated only by glass. "Her name is Celine," she said. "She was taken from a border colony. Official records list her entire settlement as casualties of a hegemony attack. But the hegemony didn't attack them," Nyx guessed. "The coalition did. These children have something in common: genetic markers indicating sensitivity to quantum fields. They can perceive shifts in reality that our instruments can barely detect. Dr. Harlow, the facility's chief physician, joined them. The children are being used as living sensors for Project Phoenix, she explained. Their neural patterns change when exposed to quantum disturbances. The coalition found they could calibrate their devices more precisely using children's brains than any artificial system. Sickness rose in Nix's throat. How many? Hundreds, over the past 8 years, Valeria answered.
Ow.
Most don't survive the process. Later, in Valeria's private quarters, a Spartan room, with a desk covered in star charts and a narrow bed, Nix struggled to process everything he'd learned. Drayson must know, he said. He's been blocking investigations into Antares for years. Valeria sat beside him. Drayson, Director Frost, General Quanther, all part of it. But they're just executors, not architects. She pulled up a classified file on her terminal. We traced the original authorization to someone called the architect. Identity unknown. But their clearance supersedes even the Security Council. Nix thought of his team aboard the Hyperion, especially Talia. I need to warn my people. That's exactly what I'm afraid of, Valeria said. We don't know who to trust. Their eyes met, and 6 years of separation dissolved. He reached for her, tracing the outline of her face. I trusted you were dead, he said softly, and I still visited your memorial before every mission. Some things you just know. Her response was to kiss him gently at first, then with increasing urgency. They moved together with the familiarity of old lovers and the excitement of rediscovery. In the darkness of her quarters, they found each other again, her skin warm beneath his hands, her breath catching as he traced old scars and new ones, relearning the geography of her body. Afterward, lying together in the narrow bed, Valeria's head resting on his chest, Nix felt clarity he hadn't experienced in years. We need to get proof to people who can't ignore it, he said. It's not just about the children, but Project Phoenix itself. Valeria nodded against him. The main research facility is on Norvedia. It's where they're preparing for the next testa. Quantum fissure large enough to create a tactical advantage against the hegemony, and destroy 6 inhabited systems in the process, Nix added. Understanding the implications, his communication device chimed, priority message from the Hyperion. From Talia. Commander, we've been ordered to bombard the coordinates you visited. Admiral Drayson claims it's a hegemony stronghold. Something's wrong. We need you back. Valeria and Nix exchanged glances. She might be setting a trap, Valeria warned, or she might be the ally we need, Nix countered. Either way, we're out of time. The Hyperion hung in orbit above Norvedia like a predator poised to strike. As Nix's shuttle approached, he noted the battle stations manned, weapon systems powered. Talia met him in the landing bay, her expression grim. Drayson's ordered a tactical strike on both the research facility and the temple complex. He says they're harboring terrorists. How did he find the temple? Nix asked. Dread building. Lieutenant Mercer reported your position after tracking your shuttle. Drayson promoted him on the spot. They walked briskly toward the bridge, speaking in hushed tones. There are children at that temple, Nix told her, kidnapped by the Coalition for experiments. And the research facility is housing technology that could destabilize entire star systems. Talia's eyes widened. How can you be sure? Because Valeria showed me. He watched her reaction carefully. To her credit, Talia barely faltered. Valeria, Nazreen, is alive? Very, and she has proof of everything. They reached the bridge where Admiral Drayson stood before the tactical display. He turned as they entered, his cybernetic arm gleaming under the lights. Commander Archer, good of you to rejoin us for this historic moment. Sir, I need to speak with you privately about this operation. Drayson's smile didn't reach his eyes. There's nothing to discuss. Strike begins in 10 minutes. The targets contain children, sir. Coalition citizens taken for experimental purposes. A ripple of discomfort passed through the bridge crew. Drayson's expression hardened. That's hegemony propaganda. I'm disappointed you'd fall for it. I've seen them myself. Nyx countered. Along with evidence of Project Phoenix, a quantum weapon that violates every treaty we've signed. Drayson's hand moved subtly toward his sidearm. You're obviously confused after your ordeal. Security escort Commander Archer to medical. 2 guards moved forward, but stopped when Talia drew her weapon. Belay that order, she said, aiming at Drayson. I think we all need to hear more about these children. The bridge erupted into chaos as Drayson's loyal officers drew weapons, while others, uncertain, sought cover. In the confusion, Nyx activated the transmitter Valeria had given him, broadcasting the evidence directly to every console on the bridge. Images appeared, children connected to machines, classified documents, test results, alongside Valeria's face, addressing the crew directly. This is Specialist Valeria Nasreen, presumed dead at Anteri Station 6 years ago. What you're seeing is evidence of crimes committed by coalition leadership against our own citizens. Drayson lunged for the emergency override, but Nyx intercepted him. They grappled briefly before Nyx pinned the older man against a console. Over, he said. They know. You fool, Drayson hissed. The hegemony will destroy us all if we don't strike first. With a weapon that kills our own children, around them. The atmosphere had changed as officers viewed the evidence. Captain Orwell, the ship's second-in-command, stepped forward. Admiral Drayson, I am relieving you of command pending investigation into these allegations. Security personnel moved to restrain Drayson, who sagged in defeat. You don't understand what's coming, he said quietly. The architects saw it war. Unlike anything we've known, these sacrifices were necessary. We'll find another way, Nyx replied. Hours later. With Drayson confined and the strike cancelled, Nyx stood in the observation deck, watching shuttles evacuate the children from the temple to the Hyperion's medical bay. Valeria had finally come aboard, coordinating with Talia to secure the research facility and its data. She joined him at the viewport, their reflections overlapping against the backdrop of stars. The Security Council's convening an emergency session, she said. Half the fleet is checking their orders against what we've revealed. And the architect? Still unknown, but we'll find them. She turned to face him. What about us? Nyx thought of the memorial on Helix, forth a grave that was never meant for her, but for him. A symbol of lies that had somehow led him to truth. I think we've spent enough time honoring ghosts, he said, taking her hand. Time to start building something worth remembering. Beyond the viewport, Norvedia rotated slowly beneath them. A battlefield now, but the birthplace of something new, a coalition reborn from its own ashes. Guided by those who refused to become legends before their time? Together, then? Valeria said, her violet eyes reflecting starlight and promise. Together, Nyx agreed, knowing that some bonds transcended death itself, real or imagined. The memorial would remain on Helix 4, but its meaning had changed. No longer a shrine to sacrifice, but a monument to rebirth, to the truth that sometimes one must die to the old world before creating a new one.